Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. I would love to talk about, should sales be delegated? And I know, Simon, you and I were talking about this a little bit off camera. So you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think sales is a big thing, but let's just scope it down to you're an individual trying to offer some services, either as a coach or something like that. I think it's very tempting, because maybe you're a coach or something, to sales is messy. I don't like doing that. Outsource it, and somebody else will provide leads. And there's plenty of salespeople who promise you with a straight face that they'll provide you leads. Yeah. But of course, sales is touching the market. If you go and talk to people who haven't bought from you, you find out what their problems are. You find out how they describe their problems and the kinds of solutions that they might have looked at before and stuff like that. And I think that's information that's too valuable not to have. And yeah, you could outsource the initial conversations and that sort of thing, but then you'd lose all of that. And 2 years later, you're sitting there going, "Why is nobody buying from me?" It's because you're not talking the language the market needs.
I think you're so right, Simon. As someone who started her own business, never thinking that she would do sales, I'm a communications coach, and that's where I thought I would be doing my stuff. And obviously I spend a lot of time speaking to potential leads. And from speaking to other coaches, where I think they struggle with sales and where it feels icky is when they feel that they're doing it to the person rather than for the person. Because the way I approach sales is to find out what's your problem and to work out, can I really help you? And if I think I can, now let me show you how that would go. And actually to sort of remove myself from it and just think, is this something I can help you with? And it's hard, isn't it, when you're running your own business to remove yourself totally from it, because obviously sales is where you make your living, but as much as possible to take yourself out of it and think, is this the best possible solution I can get for this person? And I think the person you're selling to, if you like, feels that intention if you're doing it in the right way. And you're absolutely right, Simon, you find out a huge amount about what your clients need. I would now never outsource sales totally. I think there comes a point when you want some help just because of sheer numbers and you want some people to help you do that, but I'd always still keep doing it myself.
I love that, Vanessa. And Robyn, you said off camera, you were talking about the boxes, and we see a lot of big name coaching companies that are in multi-million-dollar range that do have sales teams. When I personally look at them, it's not my personal aspiration. Therefore, Vanessa, I agree with you. I want to keep the contact with my clients because one of my signature things is intimacy of relationship. So getting to know them at the first contact. On the other hand, when you have this huge sales team, it's not as easy as it might seem. Just hire a bunch of people. You need to train them in really learning what is the system, which means you need to go back and systematize exactly what is that you're doing, which means in a way putting people into boxes. So you're only looking for the market that fits into the box and not necessarily meeting them where exactly they are and with exactly what they need. But I also found that that's what marketing is for to begin with. And when you have a marketing that is done correctly, sales conversation is not even a sales conversation anymore. It's just like, hey, let's see if we click, if there's a chemistry between us, because they already know that you are the person they want to work with.
So the issue I have with outsourcing sales is that you're right, Sara, you have to have a box because you can't ask someone to sell the nebulousness of whatever. I have tools, I can help you. Someone else can't sell that. And if you have a box, are you looking for people who fit that box in the market? Or are you squishing the market into the box? And that's what I feel like happens a lot of times when people delegate their sales, is that they have a box and then they're squishing people into it. I personally don't want to be squished into a box.
Well, there's a really interesting balance that the prospect tends to have. They don't want to think that they're paying for some massively expensive, customized thing. They want to think like they're getting some benefit because you've done this before. But at the same time, they want to feel like they've been treated as an individual. And so there is that delicate balance of, well, I've got a number of offerings and, I can help you in certain ways and stuff like that. Certainly for me, when somebody goes, basically, I'm going to really thoroughly understand your business and you do all this customized work, I'm thinking, yeah, you're going to bury yourself really deeply inside my organization and milk me for the next 10 years. So there is that mix,
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you make something customized enough that people feel like you know them and you're doing it for them, but not so much that they feel like you're not actually being useful because you're so busy trying to learn the minutia of their business.
I think it's really important to be really in integrity with who your client is and not just try to sell this person because they want it, but because you really know you can help them and they're the right client for you. And I've done that on a number of occasions. People have come to me and said, I want to work with you. And when I know what their problem is and where they want to get to, I say, no, I'm not the person. This person might be able to help you, and not just sort of squish them in what I know is truly my offering. I think that's the key to it, having integrity in that way, really knowing who you can help, and sometimes having to say goodbye to the people who you can't.
So if you've delegated sales, can they do that? With a salesperson working on commission?
Well, you've charged them to sell a box. That's the point. To delegate it, you've got to systemize it. To systemize it, you've got to sell a box. So they're going to smell that they're being sold a box.
But I think if you lead by saying, this is what we do, and if you are selling to someone, if someone's on the phone or on a Zoom call and we can't help them, say no. Really, really lead with that and say, this is what we do. Yeah, we have a box, we have a container that we put people in, or we may have 2 or 3 in the case, in my case, I do. But empower your salespeople to turn the wrong fits away.
How will the salespeople know what's a wrong fit, especially if they're on commission?
Because you tell them this is what we do, then these are the people who we don't serve. And, well, you need to be getting the right leads into your business. It starts to get back than that.
And I think, go ahead, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. Just briefly, you're always going to get the odd person who's not the right fit. But if you've got a really strong, clear message, this goes back to communication, then in our case, 95% of the people who come to us are going to be a good fit.
And I think at this point, it's also important to keep a pulse on actual delivery of the service and seeing the success as people go through the program, because then you can see the trend. If somebody's enrolling people who are not a good fit, you can trace it back and have a conversation and explore what were the things that they missed, what are the red flags that they decide to ignore just because they were commission based and they needed that cash. But then that's a whole different conversation when it comes to the actual congruency between what's being sold, what's being delivered, what's the client actual experience and the results.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like what we're saying is that at least you should, for small business owners, you should be on the pulse of your sales, at least at some level. You should know what's going on because of the market research it provides, because it gives you the opportunity to be in integrity and make sure that you're getting the right clientele in. And if you're going to delegate sales, realize that you're selling a box and you need to give your salespeople some pretty clear lines, I guess, for lack of a better word, of who's a good fit and who's not, so that they can suss that out themselves.
Good sales doesn't fix bad marketing, and bad marketing doesn't fix bad strategy. And if you have a salesperson, ideally everything lines up, but you can have problems where you're basically going, look, we do this offering, or I turn that client away because of such and such. And you can get salespeople going, they had a problem, I brought them to you, bloody sell to them. What are you doing turning people away? And you can end up if they, if you've got performance problems there, or they don't really buy in or understand or whatever, you can get real problems. And, just in that relationship with them, particularly if there's a degree of commission involved. And it's a tough one,
And so that's an interesting point, that the idea of strategy, marketing, sales, there's a continuum there. And if you have a disconnect, you are going to end up with people who don't fit your offering at all. And where is the fault? Is that with the salesperson you delegated to? Is it with the marketing you're having done? Because I'm assuming that's being delegated. Or is it with the strategy? And that's something that you're responsible for creating yourself.
You have to push your personality and all the way through that. Yes, you can delegate the mechanics, and yes, you can have a marketing person talk to you about stuff. But in the end, they've got to take what you say about what fits for your offering.
Yeah. I've certainly hired marketing people who I felt like they did not fit, like the way that they marketed did not fit my integrity. It didn't fit me. It felt icky. I didn't like it, and it didn't work.
Yeah, they'll just bring a whole load of leads which are not congruent to your business.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to cut us off there because that's about our 10 minutes. So thank you so much for having this conversation. It is a very interesting one for me, and I appreciate it very much. The intellectual stimulation always brings me joy. So I'll talk to you guys again soon.